Excellent.
Is better weather the reason for the huge uplift in illegal immigrants crossing the Channel, or is it because we do not have a viable deterrent?
So small boat crossings are 42% higher than at this point in the year last year. And very good weather, and we have had lots of good weather, is certainly one of the reasons that Labour has pointed to as being part of the reason, or is it because, as you say, we do not have a viable deterrent? Darren?
We don't have a viable deterrent. We had one with the previous UK government's Rwanda plan, and that is why channel crossings were down by a third.
Darren, let me just ask you, why do you think when you say that, not everyone's laughing, but a lot of people laughed at that. Why do you think that is?
The reality is, when you look at the figures, the channel crossings, because of the Rwanda plan, went down.
No,
there were complaints.
There were
complaints from other nations that immigrants were turning up in those nations. In Ireland, for example, because there was the deterrent in place in the United Kingdom. But let's look at this in the round, okay? There are too many people coming to the United Kingdom illegally. Anyone that arrives illegally, along with other foreign criminals, should be deported from the United Kingdom. That's what people want to see. We want to see immigration down, foreign criminals deported, and we want to stop those greedy immigration lawyers who use and abuse our legal system to keep people in our country that shouldn't be here. That's the reality. And Keir Starmer said he would smash the gangs. The only things he's smashed are the records in terms of the number of people crossing the Channel. We've got to put an end to this, and that's why I believe that we need another deterrent, such as the Rwanda plan, to be resurrected. And in fact, even Keir Starmer himself is looking at processing in a third country now, people offshore, away from the United Kingdom, in terms of their asylum claims, which I think is a better approach than all of the facts that he, opposed with the previous UK government. And of course, every step of the way, Sir Keir Starmer and the rest of the Labour Party, along with Plaid Cymru and the Liberal Democrats, were voting against the measures to deal with this problem. That's why we're in this mess now, and that's why those channel crossings are up.
Of course, it's worth remembering that no asylum seekers actually did go to Rwanda.
No. You wasted 700 million.
It was the fact that the Rwanda scheme was there that was a deterrent. That's the point I was making.
So, Alex,
that is why those figures came down.
Alex, we've got the Labour government saying it's about the weather.
No one's blaming the weather.
Well, they are.
No one is blaming the weather. The people to blame here are the criminal gangs, that infrastructure that has been allowed to build up to allow people to exploit vulnerable individuals and conduct these heinous crimes.
So you've got down here saying Rwanda was a deterrent. I know you don't agree with that.
No.
What is Labour's deterrent?
Right. So what we're doing is actual serious, credible action. So currently going through Parliament right now is the Borders Bill, which would give our national security, forces that counter-terrorism style operation to be able to go after these individuals. And just recently, in the last 2 weeks, we've seen that in action, going after Syrian criminals, going after Turkish criminals. 2 people here in Wales were arrested and charged with smuggling people, dismantling those gangs, going after the people, not wasting £700 million of taxpayers' money on gimmicks.
Going up?
They didn't. From the moment you proposed
why are the figures up?
He's saying why the number of boat crossings, people coming across the Channel going up so dramatically?
Because we need to get in and dismantle that. We need those powers. That bill is going through right now, but it's also ensuring that we work diplomatically with international partners, working with Germany, France, Iraq, Balkans, looking at how we do this collaboratively. This isn't going to work with gimmicks and performative politics, which is what the Rwanda plan exactly was.
Annabelle.
Well, we talked earlier about this sense of disenfranchisement that the electorate has with the established parties, and part of the problem is that for a long time the Conservatives promised that they would tackle this problem. Then we had Keir Starmer coming in and insisting that he was going to smash the gangs and that would reduce the number of people who are making this crossing, and yet we've had about 15,000 come across already this year, nearly 1,200 just in a single day. And I think that the public are so fed up with the lawlessness of it. They're tired of seeing people getting into these boats and some drowning before they've even really set sail from northern France, and yet they're waved on their way to come to Dover. They're tired of the fact that just 5 people, for instance, were convicted in the first 3 months of this year for piloting those boats, a tiny proportion, and of the number of people who are involved in this dreadful trade. And the real issue is, to Darren's point, we have to have a credible deterrent. Unfortunately, it doesn't matter what Labour do on the supply side. They can talk about smashing the gangs all they like. It isn't going to work. It's not going to work this year. It's not going to work next year. And why is that? It's because the profits, unfortunately, are absolutely enormous. It does not cost very much to buy some dinghy that you can cram 65 migrants into at thousands of pounds per head. And so if you smash one gang, another will come up and arrive in its place. The only thing that we can do is make it very clear to people who come here illegally that they will not be able to stay, that they will be returned to their country of origin, or they will be deported to a third country where they can be processed. But that, unfortunately, is the only way that we're going to fix this problem.
Okay. Man in the check shirt, over glasses.
Is this just not another case of Keir Starmer sort of like losing total trust in the nation? On a number of occasions, he's gone on about how when he was head of the CPS, he was instrumental in smashing the gangs then. But when you actually read about those cases and the people that actually dealt with the gangs, Keir Starmer had absolutely nothing to do with it at all. So he's not really the right person to say, I'm going to smash the gangs.
Okay. What a woman behind you with the red headband, yeah.
Hi. Darren, is the reason that Plaid Cymru, Labour and the Lib Dems all voted against Rwanda because it was unlawful and against the Human Rights Act?
Man in the grey sweater, yeah. Yeah.
We talk about a deterrent and smashing the gangs, but the final point from the panel was about actually having a safe third country to process people who want to enter the country. There are a lot of immigrants who have no safe route into this country and therefore have no choice, they feel, but to go via these gangs. So it's not just about trying to deter people from entering the country, but a deterrent for the gangs in that there is no criminal trade to engage in.
And just let anyone who wants to come.
Not necessarily, but provide a route by which anyone who wants to come into the country can be processed and can be processed humanely and essentially disrupt the criminal trade. If there is a route by which people can come into this country safely, or at least have the option to enter this country safely, we can have a say on that as long as we do so humanely, safely. Rwanda wasn't humane. It was judged to be not humane. Another country, another system. We need to disrupt the criminal element of it.
Klinos.
Yeah, can we just treat immigration and immigrants as people? I think it's really these are people that are making those journeys, and if anybody along this table had a brother or a father or a son that had to make that journey, they wouldn't discuss them in the way they discuss them at times. And I'm fed up of seeing it as a way of being populist. The illegal immigrants, we need a policy to deal with it. We need a policy as well to make sure that they don't put their lives at risk to make any journey. We wouldn't want anybody to put their lives at risk to come to a safe nation. What we should have is a way of going to the source of issue. The foreign aid budget is a way of going and dealing with issues in countries where people don't feel like they have to flee war, where they have to flee a nation where they have no opportunity.
But the foreign aid budget is not going to stop wars necessarily.
We should be putting our time and efforts going to the source of the issues and seeing what we can do to stop any journey and working with those nations in a humane way to make sure, and also have a conversation that immigration is good for us as well. We know in health and social care, many of us have been cared for by immigrants. Many of us have been served by immigrants. The quality of our lives are down to people who have come to this country and who are a part of our nation. It's a way of striking the balance, not using it as a political tool to be populist with no absolute policy behind it, and then seen illegal.
The question with respect was about illegal illegal immigration. That's the issue that I was trying to address. And it's quite clear that people are coming from one safe country, France, to the UK. So they're already in a safe country. They're already in a safe country, and they are making an illegal journey into the United Kingdom.
We
That's
need
not
to go
acceptable.
further than France. We need to go back to the source of the issue. We need to work ourselves way back. And we should be...
So, Bertina, so for example, people are coming from Afghanistan.
Yeah.
Realistically, what would